Actually, we began about 22 years ago, and it's taken some time to get it to this point of development as we move forward. So this is all part of Krishna's plan to help protect Prabhupada's legacy and his teachings for the future of mankind. Sarira avidyajal jotendriya tahikal jivi file visaya sagare tadamadye jivayati lobamoy sadurmate take jeta kutina sangsare Krishna bodadoy amoy korabhaya jivajai swat prashad anadilo vai Sayanamrita pal radha Krishna gunagao premi dako chaitanya nitai. This material body is a place of ignorance, and the senses are all networks of paths leading us to death. Somehow or another, we've fallen into this ocean of material suffering. And of all the senses, the tongue is the most difficult and hard to control. But you, dear Lord Krishna, have given us this nice prasadam, spiritual food, to help us conquer over the tongue. So now let us take this prasadam to our full satisfaction, glorifying their lordship, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. And call upon the help of Lord Chaitanya to please bless us with this mercy. So this is a prayer that Prabhupada gave us before taking prasadam, which is part of the kitchen religion. This kitchen religion was a term coined by, I believe, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur as a means for people to purify their life through the offering and eating of prasadam, the spiritual food. And we have a specific method for offering food, which is based on Prabhupada's guidance and teachings. It's very important to follow the teachings of the spiritual master. We keep speaking about this on an ongoing basis because it's vital to everyone's spiritual life, their spiritual understanding. This is not concoction. This is the issue that we must protect our group from, mental concoction. I recently saw a lecture given by Tripurari. I hadn't seen Tripurari since the 70s, actually. I used to go to O'Hare Airport. I had a friend, Uttama Shloka. He joined in Hamilton with me. And when Uttama Shloka was sent by the GBC to Chicago to be the president, I was the vice president in Toronto, and then I was made president of the temple, and then we moved forward and bought the Toronto temple under my leadership at the time. But anyway, we used to go to Chicago for book distribution in O'Hare Airport. They used to call it O'Hare Airport. And it was quite a dynamic place back then. There was a lot of great devotees there. There was a devotee, Pragosh, who became a very good friend of mine. And Tripurari was there. He was kind of the leader of the book distributors back there. He introduced a system called the change-up. I'm not going to discuss it, but it was a technique for distributing more books and collecting Lakshmi for the mission. So, and he had been invited to Toronto. I've got some very interesting pictures in my archives. I have a box of photos I've got to get out of all early day photos of the ISKCON movement in Toronto. And it brings back memories of the, let's say, the golden years when Prabhupada was personally with us. And Tripurari came to Toronto to speak to us on the Sankirtan movement. And it was enlivening, very enlivening back then. As our main work was every day go out on the street, as Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu recalls, We used to go out all day on Sankirtan. It wasn't just a part-time, when I feel like it type of service. Oh, I'll come when I feel like it. I won't come when I don't feel like it. I'm going to go do this with this person or that person. And if I have time, I'll do some devotional service. We have a different experience in the ISKCON movement. It wasn't like that. It was 24 hours a day. Very strict, all day, 24 hours a day, week after week, month after month, for years and years. I spent 15 years in the temple myself. So it was serious. And we enjoyed it very much. I can remember Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and I think you have the same experience. Back then, we had a room up on the third floor. I've got a picture of us on Gerrard Street. And we built these, see behind me, we've got these little these little boxes here behind me. So each person would have their possessions in one little box, just like that. That was it. That was all you had. When I went on Sankirtan, traveling Sankirtan, guess what I took my possessions out in? An old BTG box, a little box like that. You put your possessions in that and you put it in the truck. That was it. Total renunciation of everything. No money, no possessions, no problems. We depended on Krishna and Śrīla Prabhupāda to help us practice devotional service properly under his expert guidance. Prabhupada was like that himself. If you saw him traveling, when he came to Toronto, I've got these beautiful pictures. I have a whole slideshow, Ram Raghava, a whole slideshow of Prabhupada photographs that I had commissioned Hasti Gopal to take. They're phenomenal pictures. Somehow or other, we didn't have a camera, unfortunately, a video camera, but at least we had the photographs. We did hundreds of photographs of Prabhupada visiting Toronto. But when Prabhupada showed up at the Toronto temple, this $45 million building now, $45 million. He showed up, he brought in a little plastic case. It was a little bag. Hari Sori was carrying it. And that's all that Prabhupada brought with him of his personal belongings. So this was the example that he set for all of us. Because he understood we're not the body. This is very important to practice renunciation, not be attached. I know some people don't like this, to hear this, but you're going to have to give everything up anyway when you die. And death is imminent. Like I mentioned, Ram Raghava, we had another person die this week that was an affiliate of the ashram here. That's 5 deaths this year for me. Quite solemn experience to see people that you know, that you were their friends, that you helped them as best as you could, just pass away in front of your eyes, step by step by step by step. People leaving constantly from this world. And it's very sobering because everyone must die. No one can live on. And Prabhupada came from the West, or from the East, I should say, I apologize, to give us this understanding here in the Western world and throughout the world by his great works. And this is found in his diaries in the early days, how he taught everyone by his example. Whatever great men do, common men will follow. Whatever standards they set by exemplary acts, the whole world pursues. So it's up to each individual devotee to try to set a good example for themselves and for others as they move forward. And we're going to move forward right now to Go back to the diaries, the beautiful writing of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, if you could please bring them up. We're at Sunday, the 15th of, August. In the morning, I woke up and felt a little better, but I felt no hunger. Took only a glass of lemon sakanji, lemon drink, nimbu pani, but the head dizziness is continuing. So he's on the boat. And at the beginning of the journey, he's experiencing seasickness. Up to 10:30, I was in the captain's room, radio room, chatting with the officers. In the radio room, they were dispatching news to other ships. The captain's room is full with nautical paraphernalia. I saw a chart of different aeronautical photo of the sea. The grades are 0 to 12 degrees. And I think we were passing on the sea between 4 to 7 points. The scene of the 10th point was furious, and the 12th serious. The captain advised me to take more solid food. Monday, August 16th, Śrīla Prabhupada on his journey. Today, early in the morning, I saw the ship is plying on the surface of the sea, almost on 0 degree of waves. Yesterday night was comfortable, and although I did not take my lunch, I took a little charamukhi with milk, puffed rice, and chidwal. The ship ran all night yesterday smoothly, and the sky, although not very clear, there was moonlight in the night. In the morning, there was sunshine, but after 11, the sea became a little more rough, showing foamy waves from distance. After passing the latitude of Trinipoli, we experienced a dark cloud subsequently raining all over the sea. Quite a harrowing experience, I must say. The siren sounded on account of hazy vision to warn other ships coming from opposite direction. At about 12 noon, it is raining heavily, and the ship is stopped moving, occasionally sounding the siren. There is constant sounds of thunderbolt. This is the first time I'm experiencing heavy rains in the midst of the deep ocean. From 12 noon, we are passing through cyclonic weather. The ship is tilting too much. I felt seasickness all day and night. At 3 p.m., the ship turned towards Ceylon coast, and we are now in the Ceylon water. And I wanted to, Venkat, we won't read forward for 17th and 18th and 19th, but I'd like you to show the script of that third photograph I sent to you. The next one. Yeah. Look at this, Prabhus. Look at Prabhupada's handwriting. This is a transcendental blessing for all of us to see the handwriting of the pure devotee. This is a serious matter. Understanding how Prabhupada made a great sacrifice in coming here to help us fallen souls in the Western world get out of the repeated cycles of birth and death. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Let's have the Kirtan of Jaya Radha Madhava, or the Bhajan, and after that, we'll have a wonderful class on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the original 1962 edition with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amasva Paramahansa Parivrajagacārya Sattvaresvara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Ramacārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsari Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Śrīla Prabhupāda. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2,
to the Naranarayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being. 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Then 4, to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As mentioned by Vishwakarma Prabhu, we are reading from the original 1962 New Delhi edition. And before every reading and discussion, we read a few selected verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to understand the depth and the meaning of this great transcendental literature. Today we'll start from Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 16. Shushrushoho Shraddha-dhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchihi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipraha Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done. And as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 16. Text number 17. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punyashravana kirtana hridyanta stoya bhadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashta prayeshu vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text 19. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye Chetayetera viddham stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text number 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayati. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So today we will be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 3, Venkat, maybe you can put up the verse here. Text number 42. Text number 42. Satu Shamshrabayamasa Maharajam Parikshitam Prayopavishtam Gangayam Paritam Paramarishibihi. Sa, the son of Vyasadeva, to again Shamshrabayamasa, made them audible, Maharajam, unto the emperor, Parikshita, of the name, Prayopavishtam, who sat until death without any food and drink, Gangayam, on the bank of the Ganges, Paritam, being surrounded by, Paramarishibihi, by great sages. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his third, made Bhagavatam heard by the great emperor Parikshit, who sat tight on the bank of the Ganges until death without any food and drink, and surrounded by great sages. Purport. All transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered to Shukadev Goswami, and from Shukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from the Suta Goswami or from his representative, and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death timely, and he at once left his kingdom and family and sat down tight on the bank of the Ganges, completely in fasting till death. All great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc., reached there on account of his imperial position. There were many suggestions about his immediate duty, and at last it was settled that he would hear from Shukadev Goswami about Lord Krishna, and thus the Bhagavatam was spoken to him. Sripad Shankaracharya, who preached Mayavad philosophy, stressing on the impersonal feature of the Absolute, did also at last recommend that one must take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna without any hope of gain from debating society. Indirectly, Sripad Shankaracharya admitted that what he had preached in the flowery grammatical interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one seriously at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda, is the recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Shukadev Goswami had long stated the same truth, that at the end one must remember Narayana, and that is the essence of all spiritual activities. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was heard by the Emperor Parikshit, and it was recited by equally able reciter Shukadev Goswami. And both the speaker and the receiver of the messages of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same one medium. Text number 43. Krishna svadamopagati dharmagyana dibhi saha kalo nashta drishamesha puranarku adhunoditaha. Krishna on Krishna's Svadhama own abode, Upagati having returned, Dharma religion, Jnana knowledge, Adivihi combined together, Saha along with, Kalau in the Kali Yuga, Nashtadrisham of the persons who have lost sight, who have lost their sight, Isha, all these, Puranarku, the Purana, which is brilliant like the sun, Adhuno, just now, Uditaha, as arisen. Translation. The Bhagavad Purana is just as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna in his own abode, accompanied with religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost sight on account of the dense darkness of ignorance due to the age of Kali shall get light out of it. Purport by His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. Lord Sri Krishna as his eternal Dhamma or abode, where eternally he enjoys with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is the manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is the manifestation of his external energy. When he descends on the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atma Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atma Maya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc., are not, therefore, creation of the matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to reestablish codes of religion, which are directly enacted by him. Except God, nobody can establish the principles of religion. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God, our relation with him, our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately the aim of our destination after leaving this material body. The conditioned souls who are enwrapped by the material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like the animals engaged in the matter of eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. And they are mostly engaged in the matter of sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind at the present age of quarrel or Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal edition of the animals. They have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the needs of the body. They have no information of the spirit soul beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego. But they are very much proud of their advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk life for becoming a dog or hog just after leaving the present body, and as such, they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga, and he returned back to his eternal home practically on the verge of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke on the Bhagavad Gita specifically, and he eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Sri Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the messages of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and as such, both the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are like the torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the summum bonum of life, Lord Sri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam can see also Lord Sri Krishna in person. They are identical. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance, with the torchlight of knowledge. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva in delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my obeisances unto my Guru Maharaja, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name Bhaktivedanta. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha. Worship of the Supreme Lord is naturally very sweet, just like milk is originally sweet. Just as milk becomes sweeter by adding a little sugar, in the same way, worship of the Supreme Lord becomes sweeter by first worshiping the bona fide Guru. Adadana srinam danteridam yachi punaha punaham Śrīmad-Rūpa-padam bhoja Dhulisyam janma janmani. Clasping a straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg to attain the dust of the lotus feet of Srimad Rupa Goswami, birth after birth. Amsho bhagavatusmyaham sadadasu asmi sarabata tat kripa pikshako nityam tat prishtashat karomi svam. I'm a tiny part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and am always and in every way His eternal servant, as I am always hoping for His mercy and kindness. I offer myself to His most dear servitor, my spiritual master, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here we have two very important verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, nicely explained by Śrīla Prabhupāda. First, we have the description of, in text number 42, how Maharaj Parikshit, when he heard that he was going to die in 7 days, he went and sat down on the bank of the Ganges and gave everything up so he could hear the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's quite important to notice that in the first paragraph on the purport of text number 42, Śrīla Prabhupada says, all transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through such parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered to Shukadev Goswami, and from Shukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from the Suta Goswami or from his representative and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Now, this is an extremely important point. We've often discussed how in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Srila Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami have quoted a verse in this connection, that one should hear the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is just like nectar. Katamrita, amrita means nectar. It is like ambrosia. But they give the warning, Shravanam neva kartavyam yartochistam yatapayaha. Just like milk, which has been touched by the lips of a serpent or a snake, becomes poisonous. Sarpa uchishtam. Although milk naturally is a very nutritious food, but if it is touched by the lip of a serpent, then it becomes poisonous. So the same way, if the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not heard in proper bona fide disciplic succession, proper warms here, then this becomes very dangerous. Very dangerous. Prabhupada uses the word irrelevant interpreters. As anyone knows who has been in India, there's a lot of professional pundits, so-called scholars, so-called professional reciters of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, ritualistic performers, and all kinds of so-called expert who present themselves as expert in delivering the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But Prabhupada warns, unless such persons comes in bona fide disciplic succession, the message will not be fruitful. So this is a very important point. Prabhupada gives the example in the purport that Sripad Shankaracharya wrote in his famous Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam mudamate, samprapte sannite kale, nahi rakshati dukrin karane. That you've spent your whole life studying very nicely Sanskrit, all kinds of grammatical combination. But at the end of your life, worship Govinda. Surrender to Govinda. But we see that so many persons go on speculating again and again without cessation, thinking that they will achieve the result. Very, very dangerous proposition. That's why the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has been described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam pramanamamalam. It is the topmost evidence, the topmost literature. We're just discussing and analyzing the circumstances of how Maharaj Parikshit came to receive the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. When you look at text number 43, this is a very, very important verse. During the manifested presence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he commissioned his disciples to compile a book called Gaudiya Kantahar, the necklace of jewels of Gaudiya philosophy. This is a book in 20 different chapters with all different kinds of Bengali and Sanskrit verses describing the most important topics of Gaudiya philosophy, about Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the position of the soul, all the basic important fundamental categories for all the preachers in his mission. And one of those categories in that book was regarding the importance of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has been described as the essence of all Vedic literatures. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam, shukamukadamrita dravasamyutam. It is the ripened fruit of the desire tree of Vedic knowledge. Why? It has been sweetened by the emanation from the mouth of Shukadev Goswami. Pibata bhagavatara samalayam, muhura horasika bhuvi bavukaha. O thoughtful men who relish transcendental mellows, always taste this fully ripened fruit. So this is the advice of Shukadev Goswami, to become absorbed in the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Now, for ordinary persons like us, it is difficult sometimes to understand this large, voluminous literature. That is why Śrīla Prabhupāda, out of his kindness, just like Vyasadeva, out of his kindness, delivered the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But that book was originally written in very complex Sanskrit. Most people in the Western countries, or even in India, will not be able to understand this complex language. So out of the kindness and compassion of this great, merciful, pure devotee, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who came to the Western countries, just like we've been reading with Vishwakarma Prabhu from Prabhupada's diary, how he came to America, came on the boat on the Jaladuta, suffered 2 heart attacks, also suffered another heart attack in 1967, but yet he persevered to deliver this message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He understood the great importance of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That is why this particular verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 43, is so important. The text itself describes the Bhagavad Purana is just as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna in his own abode, accompanied with religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost sight on account of the dense darkness of ignorance due to the age of Kali shall get light out of it. And Prabhupada goes on describing the glory of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in his purport. It's quite significant that at the end of this purport, Śrīla Prabhupada describes, he says, Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the summum bonum of life. Lord Sri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam can see also Lord Sri Krishna in person. They are identical. Because I've been asked several times by some devotees, why do you put so much importance on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the Bhagavad Gita? Why? What is the idea behind that? Well, the idea is very simple. This is described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself. It is not complicated. It is not difficult. Looks like I've lost it. This is the message of Lord Krishna himself. That it says in the Sanskrit word, Puranarko aduno aditaha, it has now arisen, just after the disappearance of Lord Krishna. From a historical perspective, Lord Krishna was present on this planet at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, and he departed just at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. So this is quite significant. I've been doing a little bit of study on the historical evidence of Lord Sri Krishna's transcendental presence, because there is a lot of different so-called scholars, pseudo-scholars, pseudo-researchers, and so-called academics who deny the presence of Krishna, who will try to date it back closer to the Christian era. But the reality is Lord Krishna appeared 3,200 years before the appearance of Jesus Christ. Now, we're not trying to find fault with any religious group or religious people, but we are concerned with the historical reality of what Śrīla Prabhupada has presented. There was a very interesting conversation with Śrīla Prabhupada. This was given on a morning walk on December 2nd, 1973. On a morning walk on December 2nd, 1973, why so many Christian Sanskrit scholars and Indologists who came to India had difficulty accepting the dates given in the Vedas, the Puranas, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Prabhupada explains, Kurandar, well, about a year ago, another scientist came forward and he charged that those two scientists actually stole the knowledge from him. They were working with him and they stole it to win Nobel Prize. Prabhupada, yes, there are many scientists like that. Just like this Marconi, he stole the knowledge from Dr. Jagadish Chandra Bose. You know that? Swarab Damodar, I have heard this. Prabhupada, yes, Jagadish Chandra, I was present. He said, this man cheated me. I talked to him. Next morning, he published a theory. Kurandar, about radio? Prabhupada, no, newspaper, because both of them were friends, scientists, they talked. And he took the clue immediately, published the theory. Bali Mardan, which theory was that? Prabhupada, that Marconi wireless. Bali Mardan, wireless radio? Prabhupada, yes, radio. That was Jagadish Chandra Bose's discovery. But the government will not give the credit to the Indians. Because Jagadish Chandra Bose happened to be Indian, these Britishers, they are so much envious. Therefore, they will never admit that Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago. They bring all within the Christian period. That is their rascaldom. Jayadvaita. We went to a college and gave a class last week where the professor was saying that the Bhagavad Gita is only 2,000 years old, like that. Prabhupada, yes, they will never accept it. Yashomatinandana, one stupid guy was saying that there's some quotation in the Bhagavad Gita from Book of John. Prabhupada, oh, that is another rascaldom. Tavacharajuna. Sarvub Damodar. Śrīla Prabhupāda, what about the heart transplant? The spirit soul is within the heart, but when in the medical science nowadays, the old heart can be replaced by a new one. So what happens with the spirit soul with the old one? Prabhupada, that does not mean the new ones will increase their duration of life. That is our challenge. So it's an interesting observation from Śrīla Prabhupada that he is mentioning that basically so-called Christian scholars or Christian scholars have difficulty accepting the date, the actual factual date of Bhagavad Gita as being 5,000 years ago. It is well documented. There are also documented evidences well before the Christian era from Panini. Panini was a very famous grammarian who systematized the Sanskrit language. According to the tradition, he got revelation from Lord Shiva, and he compiled a book called Ashtadhyayi. He systematized the entire system of Sanskrit grammar, very, very organized, very logical. So this Panini refers to his Ashtadhyayi to Krishna, but this was 6 centuries before Christ. There are also many references with the Greeks who came to India, and some of them actually but they made some coins of Krishna and Balaram. This is well before Christ. So there are many references, both epigraphical, numismatic, historical, literary evidences that the personality of Krishna was well known well before Christ. There are also archaeological evidences near Bhopal, India, of a column where it refers, this was several hundred years before the Christian era, where it refers directly to Vasudeva, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, and his transcendental personalities. So these things are quite significant. And I mentioned in one of our last lectures, there's many devotees such as Satyaraj, Stephen Rosen, Stephen Knapp, or Nandanandana, who have done very good research and discussion and summarize all of these evidences in some of their writings. Very great service to the cause of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as to also prove the historical facts of Lord Krishna's transcendental presence. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And these verses are very, very enlightening for all of our members here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, because they give us insight, such deep insight into how to prepare for death. And this was also a feature of this verse 42 that Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vasudeva, in his turn made Bhagavatam heard by the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat tight on the bank of the Ganges until death, without any food and drink, and surrounded by great sages. It's interesting to note that he's an emperor. He's not just a homeless person, but very rich, very famous, extremely powerful, had all the facility, provided a human being, but nonetheless, he was intelligent enough to do what? As he was been cursed, or had been cursed to die in 7 days. He was intelligent enough to do what? To renounce everything and go and listen to the Bhagavatam being spoken. And in this way, he could prepare for his soul to leave the body and go back home, back to Godhead. And I thought it was rather interesting. here down in the purport, indirectly, Sripad Shankaracharya admitted that what he had preached in the flowery grammatical interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one seriously at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda, is the recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Shukadeva Goswami had long stated the same truth. At the end, one must remember Narayan, and that is the essence of all spiritual activity. And one of the greatest stories is the story of Ajamil. Ajamil was raised in a proper family, but he, by bad association, he fell down and married a prostitute. He had 10 children, and he was living a life of debauchery, drinking, and sinful activity. Even though trained in early age to be a righteous person, he became an animal. Prabhupada used that example. The modern world is like the royal edition of the animals. The modern world, that's what this is. We all know that because we were raised in this environment. Unfortunately, in Canada, that's what's here. And we're all byproducts of that. But nonetheless, Ajamil, he named his 10th son Narayan. And when he was about to die, he cried, even though it was offensive chanting, he cried out the name Narayan, calling his son. But irrespective of whether or not it was done out of devotion or just by chance or by blessing, he got the mercy of the Lord for reciting the holy name, repeating the holy name at the time of death. The Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas came to the bedside, and there was a debate between both parties. What should be done? And the conclusion was that the chanting, even of one name of God, is greater than all the sins you can commit in this life. So in this way, Ajamil was blessed by the Lord simply by remembering his name at the time of death. And this is the situation as well with Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. And this is the example for all of us to follow. Because time is a very interesting thing, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Most people think of time as past, present, future. Oh, that's true, but that's related to the mortal body and the dreams that people concoct in their minds while they live in this body. For how long, Vinkat Bhatta? How long do they live here? They live here for a flash in eternity. It's like the turning on and off of a light switch. Now, it may not seem like that to us because we're bewildered. Of course we are, by this infatuation with our false ego and our material existence that we enjoy. But the reality is that life is very short. And the only reality is the transcendental sound vibration of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord found in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the lips of the pure devotee authorized representative Śrīla Prabhupāda. This mental concoction, this interpretation of these scriptures by any rogue is a great disservice to our parampara. This is not good. I just recently got a letter from someone in Florida who sent it this morning to me. And it's from some group. I'm not sure what it is. But they were opening up the information about how deviant a lot of different people have become because of this mental concoction, because of their motive for profit, adoration, and distinction. It contaminates the transcendental nature of this process, just like urine touching milk. It appears to be pure, but in fact, it's contaminated, and you don't touch it. That's the reality. Because this life is a very valuable asset for all of us. And I wanted to mention here, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that in this discussion and reading, our goal is to share the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness from the bona fide spiritual master with everyone that comes to these classes or hears them. That's our goal, because you need a taste of truth to be able to stay fixed on the path of devotional practice. You need to taste it. And it's our hope that when people attend the classes, like myself, I attend the classes, I personally really enjoy all of the discussion with everyone, and especially Yaśodā Prabhu's specific word for word reading and explanation thoroughly of these books. I know, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that you were taught this back in the early 70s when you were with Prabhupada in Vrindavan. That's why he made you the headmaster of the school. It wasn't because it was an accident. It was a premeditated plan. And Prabhupada also told Yaśodā and Guru Kripa that they were the best preachers in the movement. I know he doesn't want to say that, but I will say it. Okay, don't shake your head. We're blessed with this opportunity to hear the Krishna consciousness from bona fide sources, coming down in disciplic succession from Shukadeva Goswami in Parampara to this class here in 2023. Because Prabhupada is present now in his Vani incarnation. It's through sound vibration you become advanced, not by listening to these other people that a lot of us have heard and get infatuated by their so-called flowery language. It's all nonsense. So I don't want to take up too much time because we have a lot of wonderful people here with us. Janis Priya in Hawaii, and Ram Raghava, Dr. Ram Raghava in the southern states, and some other people we would call Prakrita in Montreal. But we're going to take the discussion back to Yaśodā for a few comments and then carry on with the discussion with others. Yaśodā-nandana, please.
I think the best thing to do at this point would be to give the floor to an eminent speaker like Dr. Ram Raghava and some others who are much more qualified than my lowly self. While I appreciate the comments you made about myself and the one about Guru Kripa, the fact is Prabhupada was just trying to encourage us to become good devotees or become better devotees. We have to look at it from that perspective. As far as Prabhupada's instruction in the Gurukul, I did receive a lot of personal instructions when I had the chance to massage Prabhupada's feet for a few weeks in May of 1977. A lot of instruction about Varnashram Dharma, how to study the books, how to teach in the Gurukul, how to teach devotees and everything. I've discussed a few of these things before, and some of these things will eventually, when I get more time, in some of my memories or whatever. But I think someone like Dr. Ram Raghava, who has a lot of very deep personal realization as well, would be better if we hear from him. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. And thank you very much for that explanation further. Ram Raghava, maybe you could share your realizations this morning with this wonderful group of devotees who are assembled here online.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances to everyone. Yes, I would like to share something, but if Janaspriya Prabhu has something to add, he could say before me. He's more senior to
No,
me.
go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to touch on a point that Śrīla Prabhupada mentions in the purport to the first verse that was read today, verse 42, where he mentions about debating. And Śrīla Prabhupada is referring to this verse from the Mahabharata, which talks about not being able to come to a conclusive truth by logic and argument. And it's quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Śrīla Prabhupada's books in Madhya Lila, Volume 7, Chapter 17, verse 186. Tarko apratishta shrutayo vibhinna nasav rishir yasya matang na bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitang guhayam mahajano jena gatah sapantha. Translation: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. And in the purport, Śrīla Prabhupada explains that this is a verse spoken by Yudhishthira Maharaj in the Mahabharata, Vana Parva 313.117. So, Śrīla Prabhupada has given us a lot of important verses, and actually, long time ago, I was able to attend a class given by a devotee named Rohini Nandana Prabhu in England, who gave a class on how to memorize these verses. So there's, one way you can do it is do it the way he taught. He taught a system where you repeat each line 3 times, and then you say the line without looking at it, and then you go on to the second line, do the same thing, and then you go back first and second line, and you progressively add on to all 4 verses. Or you could also listen to Śrīla Prabhupada's lectures, and if you hear Śrīla Prabhupada quoting those verses, it becomes very, very easy to remember them. And you can see behind me on the right, I have a whole bookcase full of all the cassettes, the original cassettes of Śrīla Prabhupada's lectures. They're very nice, and if you hear Śrīla Prabhupada saying the verses even a few times, it becomes very easy to remember them. Also, I would like to share regarding this topic of debating and how to understand the conclusive truth. In a reading of the Nectar of Devotion on October 27, 1972, in Vrindavan, India, Śrīla Prabhupada mentions this point. So I'm reading here. Yes, na tangs tarkena yojayet. Achintya khalu ye bhava, na tangs tarkena yojayet. Mahabharat, Bhishma Parva 5.22. Simply by arguments, logic, you cannot understand Krishna. That is the Vedic injunction. Tarko apratishta. You cannot establish the truth by simple logic and arguments. You may be very great logician, but somebody may come who is greater logician than you, and he defeats you. That is going on. Tarko apratishta shrutayo vibhinnam. Now, if you read the Vedas, you'll find some contradiction. Not contradiction, but to the neophyte, it appears to be contradiction. Just like we have cited the example that animal stool is impure, but cow dung is pure. So by logic, you can say that cow dung is also the stool of an animal, how it becomes pure. But in Vedas, you'll find such things. Therefore, by simple studying, without surrendering yourself to the spiritual master, you'll find all these contradictions and you'll be bewildered. Shrutayo vibhinna. They are not vibhinna, but to our limited knowledge, sometimes they appear as vibhinnam, different. Shrutayo vibhinnam naso munir yasya matang na bhinnam. And you won't find a philosopher who does not agree. who does not disagree with other philosophers. Therefore, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajana yena gatasa pantha. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 17:186. We have to follow the footsteps of great acharyas. That is the way. These mahajanas are described in the Shastras like Lords Brahma, Lord Shiva, Swayambhur, Narada Shambhu, Kapila Kumara Manu, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 6.3.20. They are all mentioned. So anyway, I thought this is one of the important verses for devotees to learn, to keep in our armamentarium of the knowledge that's given by Śrīla Prabhupada. Thank you.
Priya, in Hawaii, I see that you're on screen today or on the call. Are you able to respond
Hare
to
Krishna.
this session? Thank you.
Śrīla Prabhupada. Yes, very important points we're discussing today. Thank you, Ram Bhagava Prabhu. That was very nice. And there's no senior, as far as I'm concerned, the only senior disciples here are Yaśodā-nandana and Vishwakarma. I'm just a little person. But one point that I interested that Yaśodā-nandana mentioned is the milk being touched by the lips of the serpent. And this is so common. I have walked into ISKCON temples during Arctic, and they had a tape of Krishna Das, the Mayavadi, playing what they do in the kirtan. I mean, that's like so like, God, people just don't understand. They don't understand that they think, oh, because he sings so nicely and he has such a deep voice. Yeah, deep to hell. So we have to be very, very careful who we listen to, what we read. And Prabhupada was so amazingly protective of our sadhana bhakti that he gave us the instruction, don't even go to my God brothers. He mentions many, many times in his books and in different places talking about Gaudiya. He didn't want ISKCON to become Gaudiya Math 2.0, and he warned us. And I was reading this description of Śrīla Prabhupada describing Gaudiya Math, and I didn't realize that he was talking about Gaudiya Math, because everything he was saying was exactly what's going on in the society. And that's due to the deviation, due to the devotees becoming envious of their own guru. They wanted to be Prabhupada. And how could such foolishness enter into anybody's brain? How could you even conceive that that's possible? To become greater than Prabhupada? They wanted a Vyasa-san bigger than Prabhupada, higher than Prabhupada. That's such nonsense. So we're so fortunate that we're trying to keep Prabhupada's legacy alive by providing these wonderful lectures where we're not putting our ideas, simply reading what Prabhupada said. And I'm sure Prabhupada is very, very pleased. He's smiling upon us because those are his instructions. He said, you don't need to go to any of my God brothers. They will only confuse you. And as much as this might hurt somebody, that's okay. That's your problem, not my problem. Śrīla Prabhupada gave us these instructions. And if you're a sincere follower of Prabhupada, you understand that I don't need anything else besides Śrīla Prabhupada's teachings. That's all I need. And if I try to push these teachings forward, then my life will be successful. Why? Because Krishna says so in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada told us that. And this is the science of Krishna consciousness. It's simply to follow the parampara, the way Prabhupada taught us, And I feel this is my mission, is to somehow help establish this firmly for the next 10,000 years. Hare Krishna.
Yes, the truth is what we're all looking for in our lives, not mistruth. This is something that is very dear to all of us and is the most important issue in terms of what we're doing week after week. It's not that we just whimsically take something up and then stop. We carry it on with all seriousness because Prabhupada, his truth, that legacy has to be protected. And when it is damaged by others, this is when the war comes. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Could you share your realizations this morning at the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading and discussion?
Oh, Hare Krishna, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking. Each day we have a class and discussion. There's different topics discussed, and I thought the point of Ajamil being one of the most glorious stories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam came out that when he chanted the holy names, the way I've understood it, so he chanted without offense. He wasn't thinking like the seventh offense. So I would chant the holy names of Narayan, and I will get so much benefit or be freed from my sins. He wasn't thinking like that. That the way I understood it, he's in so much fear that he simply thought of his son Narayan, and he chanted without committing the seventh offense, and that was considered a offenseless chanting. So in that way, our goal is to become free from all offenses and chant the holy names without offenses. So I just have a little small thing I wanted to say today. Thank you for all your classes. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Maybe your Yaśodā-nandana, you could clarify that further, because I had read something that it was, he wasn't a pure, but even in that state, he was benefited.
Maybe you can repeat the point again for me, please.
It was Dharma Bhavana brought up a point that in regards to the chanting, he was saying that it was offenseless, although there was some things have been written that it was, it wasn't, he wasn't free from material contamination, but at the same time he chanted, and it was the name that liberated him.
Who are you referring to when you say he was chanting? Who is he?
Ajamil.
Ajamil, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Prabhupada comments that Ajamil chanted offenselessly. There was no offense on his part. He just chanted the name of Narayana, although he was referring to his son, Narayana, because there was no offensive mentality on his part. He was liberated. So there are also other commentaries by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur basically explaining the same point. But Prabhupada explains this very clearly in his commentaries on the 6th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Very important point. I also see that one lady, Bhakta Patricia Tellis,
Yes.
she mentions a point, what to speak about those who call themselves followers of Śrīla Prabhupada and yet are altering Śrīla Prabhupada's books. How different are they from ISKCON leaders? Maybe you'd like to comment upon that. We've discussed that many times before, but she's raising a very important point.
Well, it's very clear here in today's sessions that changing any of the teachings from the pure devotee, and as well, not only changing them, but in misinterpreting them for their own personal benefit, is not a system of parampara. And so it's a great sin. And people should be very careful to repeat the analogies I was mentioning earlier, Yaśodā, about this sannyasi Tripurari. Now, in his particular career, he left the movement after Prabhupada's demise. He left. And he went ahead and joined the Gaudiya Math, interestingly enough. And I was listening to his talk. I spent, Ram Raghava, about a half hour to hear what he had to say because I hadn't seen him since 1974. And I found, and if you get a chance, you can see it online, you can judge it for yourself. He makes up philosophy. The mind is very fertile. You get some information and then you concoct what it is further according to your own speculation, not repeating what Prabhupada said, not giving Prabhupada examples, not remembering Prabhupada's teachings to all of us. Do not change anything. Do not change my books. Don't change the philosophy. Try to repeat according to your own ability. Repeat what you've heard from your spiritual master. And in this way, it'll be bona fide. But when you start to make things up, when you start to get infatuated with your own false ego, oh, I'm so smart, I'm so intelligent, I'm so intellectual, this is a big mistake. Some people would say, well, how can you say that? Well, you have to use your intelligence, everyone, and see for yourself. And if you can't see it, you can ask us, and if you still don't see it, then do what you have to do. So, we're at 11:29. Vinkat Bhatta, our wonderful production chief. Good job today again, bringing up all the wonderful verses and scripts in front of the screen for everyone to see from our different speakers. Is there any comments you'd like to share on the end of this discussion? I see Dan Sullivan. What's his question? This is a bit off topic, but what is his question?
Yeah, he asks, is there any truth to Jesus traveling to India in his lifetime?
Yaśodā, what's the comment there?
Came up in 1970 in Los Angeles when there was a book with regards to Jesus's travel to Jagannath Puri and Benares during the time that he was missing. In the Bible, there is a period of time where they cannot account for Jesus' location. And according to that book, basically it said that he had traveled to Jagannath Puri and traveled to Benares and everything. There is also a reference in Prabhupada's books that Jesus' actual tomb was in Kashmir, that he was, after his resurrection, that he went to Kashmir. I mean, I don't know the historical veracity of these claims, but Prabhupada does mention that in one of his Chaitanya Charitamrita reports. As far as Jesus's visit to India, it's quite plausible. I mean, as far as the different Christian churches, both the fundamental Roman Catholic Church and the other Greek and Orthodox churches, I don't know how to explain this period of time in the Bible where Jesus's whereabouts are basically not explainable. So basically, we accept from Prabhupada's statements, basically that Prabhupada did confirm these things, and we accept them based on his own statements. That's all basically I can say about that. Although, in all fairness, here's somebody made the Chaitanya Gadgil Prabhu. There's a book called Aquarian Gospel. I used to have that book, basically. So, you know, this is basically from a letter from to Hayagriva on July 31st, 1969. Let me just read the statement. There is a book called Aquarian Gospel in which it is stated that Lord Jesus Christ lived in the temple of Jagannath. Without being his devotee, how could he live there, and how the authorities could allow a non-devotee to live there? From that book, it appears that Lord Jesus Christ lived in intimate relations with the priest order. So that's a statement, clear statement from Śrīla Prabhupada explaining this point. And thanks very much, Bhakta Chaitanya Gadgil, for this very important quote. Very good research. He's very expert researcher and devotee.
Yes.
Incidentally, he lives in Bangalore, not too far from Venkat.
Oh.
And he goes to he was attending a engineering college in Bangalore, and right across the street from his college, there is a Govardhan temple. There's a temple of the Puddike Mat from Udupi, where the Swami built a temple of Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill. Very beautifully temple, very well maintained. And he used to go there every day to visit and things. So, and near the idea where his school was, there's a lot of other Vaishnava temples there. Very special area. Very, very sweet, auspicious area with all kinds of nice Vishnu temples. He sends me regular pictures. He knows I'm deeply absorbed in Maya. So what he does, he goes there and he takes some pictures. There's a Venu Gopal Swami close to his place. So he gets, they have these gorgeous, beautiful flower arrangements there. And he sends the pictures. He knows this will help me to recover from my Maya. So we greatly appreciate the service, Bhakta Chaitanya Gadgil Prabhu.
Yes, very much so. And we do appreciate the contributions of our members worldwide who are participating in these programs with us and sharing their research and understanding of the philosophy with all of us, because it is a vast collection of information that was given by Śrīla Prabhupada to us. Like sometimes, and we'll end off the talk, but Prabhupada would tell us, and he did mention it today, simply study Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and of course, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. He recommended you study these books thoroughly and carefully. And there, in these books, all the information that you need is contained. All of it. It's summarized by Prabhupada for us very conveniently so that we can get the essence of truth from the lips of the pure devotee in his Vani incarnation. Thank you very much, everyone. Remember, we'll be back on air on Wednesday. Time is flying, I must say. And coming to the end of this year, actually. We're entering into December, so we'll be back on with the reading and discussion of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And please share it with your friends and your colleagues who want to hear the philosophy in a rather special way.
That's too much crazy.
Glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Let's have the Kirtan, Prabhu. Everyone can chant along.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.